good day, and welcome to the Kingdom Wealth Warriors channel, where we equip kingdom minded believers with spiritual truths to walk in divine authority, wisdom, and wealth. I am your host, Deb Howard. Excited to be here on today. I know I've been absent a little while. That's a whole story that we won't get into today, but I am excited to talk to you today about something I've been thinking about really lately. Thinking lately, thinking about lately. I'm already feeling some kind of way, kind of silly, but this is not a silly topic. So today I want to talk to you about being about shifting or being shifted, shift or be shifted. I've been thinking about this a lot. I think it's because there's so much going on in our world today. And I think sometimes the distractions of life can really cause us from taking action. I already like that. So I really want to talk to you today and just kind of start the conversation, maybe even in your own mind, about what your future looks like. I know as believers, I know Jesus said, take no thought for tomorrow. We'll get into that another day too. But what I will say is that the Bible over and over urges us to plan, to prepare, right? Don't be a sluggard, right? Ants even prepare for the or plan, right, for the future, for the next season. Um, yeah. So we want to also plan and prepare. And what I want to say to you is that you will either shift or you will be shifted. And one of these options puts you in control. If you shift, you're in control of how you shift, what that looks like, etc. When you do it, all of that. The other places you at the mercy of circumstances. So I don't want you to be the victim of circumstances. As believers and as believers that are concerned about um, our legacy, our financial well-being, our wealth building, we want to be flexible enough to shift when needed. Hmm. I was sharing actually on another live on TikTok that many years ago, I went to school for shorthand. Now, some of you, I don't want to age myself too much. Some of you may not know what shorthand is, but yes, I'm that old. So, yes, I took shorthand and I was pretty good at it. I think I got up to 80 words a minute in shorthand. It was a way, anyway, basically, shorthand was what it sounds like. You use different symbols and etc. Uh, to symbolize different words. And it was a way for you to take notes. So at the time, I was interested in being an executive secretary, at an oil company for one of these big cheese CEOs. And so what they used to do, believe it or not, is dictate, you know, an email or a letter that they wanted typed or whatever it was, right? And um, those who knew shorthand, right, could keep up basically with the rhythm of the voice of a person's voice or the speed of a person's voice so that they wouldn't have to wait for you to write out the word. Right. So, long story short, went to school for shorthand and it quickly, like, I want to say that shorthand became obsolete probably within, I want to say, 5 or 6 years of me finishing school. I did use it. It became I think, weeding out tool. So I was able to get jobs and get interviews based on having that skill, but I can't even think of one time that I used it in a job, right? And so I'm saying that because sometimes we have skills, we gain skills and knowledge that is valuable at the time that we gain them. But as technology continues to evolve, as things continue to change, we may find ourselves not as in demand with those same skills. I was trying to remember who, but I know a big CEO just recently. I want to say it was the CEO of OpenAI, but I'm not sure. So I'm not going to call his name because I'm not sure if it was him or not. But I read someone say that uh, some of the first jobs that will be impacted heavily by AI, artificial intelligence, will be customer service jobs. And so if you're listening to this and you are in customer service, you're a customer service professional, what are you doing to shift? Yeah, what are you doing to shift? Because at some point, you're probably going to be shifted, right? Whether that's, I don't know. And how long that will be, I don't know. But I think one thing that I found valuable in my life is being proactive. I think that in my career, in my journey, and listen, I've been working since I was about 14 years old with maybe a 2-year break somewhere in there. So, um, yeah. And every job that I've held, I've always been the type to look at, what this will look like in the future. Where can I go with these skills? How is the labor market shifting and changing? Is an economic downturn going to impact me? Now, those of you who are in HR, now I'm in HR. If you know anything in corporate America, you know that many times when there's an economic downturn, the human resources department is impacted. And because there have been impacts just over the decades in that department, many times companies tend to keep those departments slim, if I can put it that way. Right. Typically, the HR departments don't get too big. And if they do, yeah, it's usually kind of scary. It gets kind of shaky for us. But I've seen, many changes just since I've been in HR in the last, oh gosh, 20 plus years. And what I'm seeing now, as I look proactively at my own career, I'm seeing some shifts and changes. I'm seeing some things that are occurring with technology, specifically with artificial intelligence, that I believe will make my job a little less valuable in the marketplace. That skill set that I have because I'm a knowledge worker. Now, I want to be careful right there. And let me take a pause, really. I am talking specifically about the skills and knowledge that I use to market myself in the workplace, in corporate America. So this has nothing to do with my own value. And I want you to be able to distinguish that. We are valuable, right? You are a valuable individual. And I think sometimes I see this quite a bit in the workplace that we tend to align our self-value with the value of the skills that we're offering in the marketplace, i.e., when it's time to get a performance appraisal, many times people tend to feel like I'm worth so much more than this. and they get upset about either the amount that's awarded or the offer of the position, the offer of the promotion, etc. So I want you to be able to look at that, yes, I am valuable. And so with all the skills and talents that I have, what can I do with those skills and talents to assist other customers or to make a bigger impact in my current job if I prefer to stay, in that environment. It really doesn't, and I know it's difficult, but corporations, companies, the marketplace is not paying for you per se. And I know that can be debatable, right? I'm sure some pastors out there that would disagree, but I'm just telling you, just strictly business perspective, right? From an HR perspective, that you are being paid for the particular set of skills and knowledge and abilities that are needed for that particular role. So even if you're a doctor or maybe you have a doctorate degree, if the customer service role requires, whatever it requires, 3 years experience, good communication skills, ability to use Microsoft Word, whatever, right? They have appropriated a certain amount of money for that set of skills. Now, even if you have a doctorate degree and you know you're very educated and you have all these other skills, right? Maybe you have experience as a director or a vice president or a president of a company, or maybe you have programming skills, maybe you know how to fix cars, maybe you might have a whole lot of other skills, knowledge, skills and abilities that are very valuable. But what the company is paying for is that particular set of skills that are needed for that amount of time for the customers that they have based on, a whole bunch of other factors. Okay. And so I want us to really look at that, because sometimes maybe we are selling ourselves short, but more than that, maybe we haven't figured out how to package what we already have so that we can maybe um, have other sources or other customers or other people that are interested in the skills and the knowledge and the abilities that we have. All right. And so as we assess where we are today, shift or be shifted. So we want to assess where we are today. And yes, this is a faith-based discussion, but at the same time, I don't want you to get too caught up in um, feeling like you have to predict the future, right? You don't have to be prophetic in this hour to engage in the discussion that I'm having with you. You can just look around. You can just do some quick research, some quick Googling, some quick chat GPTing or Geminiing or Clauding, whichever AI tool that you use to help you assess where you are. So if I'm a customer service professional, and that's just the example we're using. So I'm not picking on customer service people, but that's just the example that I'm using today. One of the things that I might want to do is go on ChatGPT or go on your favorite app, AI app, and put that in, right? Just ask. I'm going to do it right now. Let's do it right now and see. I have ChatGPT. Let me type this in. All right. Yeah, let me type it in. All right. And let's just ask, what is the what does the future, job market look like for customer service professionals? And let's give it a timeline. Let's say within the next 10 years. Now, let's say 7 years. All right. And I'm talking about this because I really want us to get in the planning mode. If you are employed right now, great. Let's not just sit on that. Let's not just listen to what those company leaders are saying. Um, Company leaders at the place that I'm working at saying, "Oh, don't worry about anything. We're always going to need, HR people, et cetera, et cetera." Don't listen to that. Famous last words, right? Be proactive. Be proactive and plan. Proactive and plan. Okay, so I shared with you that throughout my career, that's one thing that uh, really God has blessed me with, that insight, that wisdom to continually be proactive and plan and know when to shift, right? Know when to add to my artillery of skills. Know when to shift, whether it's shift companies or shift roles. So I want you as a believer to tap into your Holy Spirit because you have access even to the prophetic. But I also want you to do some basic research. Okay, so here, as I look at ChatGPT for customer service professionals, what does the future look like? Over the next 5 to 7 years, ChatGPT is giving me a lot of information, but this is the key. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics projects a 5% decline in employment for customer service representatives through 2034. It does say that AI, automation, chatbots, self-service platforms are increasingly handling simple or repetitive tasks. All right. But here they're saying, but human skills like empathy, problem solving, ability to personalize, handling complex or emotionally charged situations are still in demand. Great, right? So even though uh, the government predicts that, hey, we're seeing a decline in employment in that field, we're also seeing that there are some specific skills for customer service professionals that are in demand. And I love that emotional intelligence is listed, right? So if you're a customer service professional, right? And this is just an example, but something you might want to look into is really sharpening your emotional intelligence. I agree that is needed in almost any customer facing position, but for sure for customer service professionals, having that skill set and being able to package that will definitely help you in the future, not just in your current role, but most likely it will be very, very beneficial for you in other roles. And so I know that was a long example, but I wanted us to really kind of walk through what it looks like to plan. It doesn't have to be scary. We don't have to, get into negative thinking. It doesn't have to go against your faith talk, right? This is just planning. This is just being aware of where I am in the world that I'm living in. And I have time, right? Because in the example I just used, I think I said 7 years. Okay, so I have time. I have employment right now. So let me begin to look at what skills, what knowledge, what abilities do I need to sharpen or add to my artillery so that I can continue to be marketable in the corporate workspace, right? And if I have a business, same thing, right? Whatever your business is, I'm doing the same thing with my business. What is it that I need to add to my artillery so that my business continues to flourish, right? So that I'm shifting as I see things shifting in the world. Listen, we can't look at everything that's happening in the world, in government, and just everything, right? In our personal lives, and not believe that there are not prophetic shiftings also occurring. So it is in the spirit. Yes, it's so in the natural also, or vice versa. Right? So what we see naturally, we know is a result of what is happening in the invisible realm. I'm talking to believers right now. So if you believe that, and we see so much upheaval in the natural, then it's a result of the shifting and the charging that's occurring in the invisible realm. And so we can use that, right, to help us get prepared for our next. All right. And that's what this is all about, right? We want to shift and not just be shifted. Right. So when we talk about shift, a shift is to realign, to recalibrate, to reposition yourself, to reposition your mind, your spirit, and your perspective, right? And that's what we want to do now, right? Again, while you still have income. Now, I know many people have already lost their jobs. So even as you are looking for employment or taking on different jobs, again, you still want to plan, right? How do I need to adjust? How do I need to shift? Am I in the right place? Right? We need to ask the Lord these things. Am I in the right location? Am I in the right state? Is this the place where I need to be? Is this area that I'm living in beneficial for the business or the employment that I'm looking for? Right? We're talking about shifting. The scripture tells us to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. So we're going to renew our mind by doing research, by praying, right? By seeking counsel, by educating ourselves on what it is that uh what what the thing that I'm doing right now is going to do in the future. How is it what are the patterns? What are things, let me slow down. What's happening in my profession or in my business? Right? What are the indicators? And then I can use that information and pray and strategize with God to understand how I need to position myself, recalibrate, renew my mind, etc., so that I am prepared, right? Because I'm planning so that I can be prepared for the future or for my next of what God wants to do in my life, right? And so, what we want to understand is that all of this that I'm saying uh, is what businesses do. All right, it's what corporations are doing right now. Listen, you incorporated, you are a business. Whether you have a business or not, you are a business. You are um you are the CEO of your family or your own household. You have to decide how funds are allocated. You have to determine what investments will be made. And this may be a time for you to make some investments in the stock market or in crypto or etc. But it may also be a time for you to invest in you, right? The owner of the business, the CEO, the head of the household, right? The high priest in your ministry. It may be time to invest in you. And that's what, if we do all of these things, right? Preparing, planning, that's what we're doing. We're preparing ourselves and positioning ourselves for what's next. Listen, we already know it's in economic downturns that millionaires are made. And you know how they're made? Come on now. Preparation. Come on now. They're preparing. They're doing research. People that made millions of dollars off of Bitcoin, whenever back in 2020 and all of that during COVID, right? There was an investment of time to understand that that technology, all right, so that they could see more than what, right, many of us could see. And were confident in their investment in those particular cryptocurrencies, right? So sometimes we want to make snap decisions, emotional decisions, whether it's with our investments or even sometimes with our jobs. Listen, I want you to remember you're either going to shift or you're going to be shifted. And the only difference is who is in control. If you shift, you're in control. If you wait to be shifted, now you're at the mercy of circumstances, situations. I don't have to tell you, right? To be shifted out of a job, to be laid off, that's a shift. And that's a shift that you didn't plan on, but it's happening anyway. And many times when we aren't prepared or we haven't planned or given any thought to being shifted, it's a surprise. It deals with us, impacts us in an emotional way, and we're responding, right? Or I should say, we're really reacting to situations when we can have the opportunity to plan. Listen, nobody knows the future completely. And maybe everything will be great, but the investment and time that you take now will pay off. It will. All right. So I want to leave you with that. I just wanted to get on today and talk about that because that was on my mind. Shift or be shifted. And I want to talk to you too, just give you a few pointers. So, how do I shift intentionally? Well, I already talked about the preparation, right? Assess where you are, whether that's at a job or in your business or in your home, right? Go ahead and assess where you are. Do a little research, right? Whether it's through AI or Google, asking questions, talking to leaders, however way you want to do that, right? Take a little time and start um, identifying, where I am. And then I want you to get into prayer, right? I don't want you to make a decision based on that information alone because we're believers, right? We're kingdom people. So I want you to really get quiet and still and put it before God, right? Let's get in our quiet place, not in a place of begging, not in a place of emotion because we're being twisted by circumstances, but now while we have peace, while you have peace, right? Let's get before God and put all this information that we've gathered before Him. Because, Father, I want to be aligned with you, with my destiny, with the me that I need to be for the future. So we want to pray. We want to put these things before Him. And then we want to begin to respond, right? Or obey what we hear in the Spirit, even if it goes against, what you think you should do. Because I'm taking my information and bringing it to God for transformation, for my own transformation. And maybe that transformation is in my mind, or maybe again, it's in adding to my artillery of skills, right? And then I want you to affirm every day that you are shifting into alignment with God's purpose. I am shifting into alignment with God's purpose. I won't be a victim of change. I am a vessel of transformation. How about that? See, we have to continually affirm to ourselves the faith that we have already declared. We say we're believers, And so I'm not going to be afraid of a change or a shift in my life. No, I'm going to shift in alignment with God's purpose for my life. I'm making plans. I'm preparing now for the future because I'm not going to be a victim of change. Listen, I'm not going to be a victim of the shift. I'm going to be a vessel of transformation. Listen, I want you to live your most abundant life. And we can do that. We really can. It just requires us to be sensitive to the spirit and, of course, plan, right? Plan, plan. Right? Because in the plan, there's preparation. Listen, thanks for joining me on today. I want to remind you, while I have you here, that we have an event coming up very shortly. Oh my gosh, just a few weeks away. The Kingdom Wealth Warrior Summit. It's October 11th. 2025 here in Houston, Texas. Listen, we are going to be discussing even in more detail the strategies of preparing for the future and your own wealth building dreams and building your own legacy. So I love to see you in the place. The Kingdom Wealth Warriors Summit. It's here in Houston, Texas. You can go to Deb Howard online. It's scrolling at the bottom of the screen to get more information about the summit and listen about other things that I have coming up. You know, you can also get, I think I have a free complimentary gratitude journal that you can download from that site. So debhowardonline.com, but I want you to go and register for that event. You still have time. Time is getting short, but you still have time to register. So I want to see you in the place. Go and register. Listen, thanks again for being here. And you know what I'm going to say? You should know by now what I'm going to say. Go have your most abundant day. I'll see you soon.